I'm going to be showing you how to fix the noise coming from your treadmill. There could be a number of factors that your treadmill could be creating noise. But before I get started, there's a couple of things that I'll be doing later on in the video, how to remove all these covers and get into the components, how to tighten the treadmill conveyor belt, also aligning it at the back, lubricating it. Also, your belt from the motor could be loose from the front roller located there. That could be one of the first issues of making noise. So if your belt's squeaking every time you step on the conveyor, your belt might be loose. So you want to tension it. Now, before you go tensioning it, you might want to see if there's any grease on the belt. It could have slipped from one of the rollers onto the belt. So you want to take the belt off, give it a good clean, very simple to do, and then tension it. Now how you tension is, before you go tensioning it, here's my tensioner bolt right here, but before you go tensioning it, you want to release the motor so it's free to spin. So loosen the bolts holding the motor in place, and then you'll be able to tension it a lot more better. Now this has got a nut here, so you'll leave the nut off the tensioner so you can tension it to whatever you want, then tighten the nut to hold it in place. So make sure the belt's also on its tracks, and then you can go ahead and tension it. The belt feels pretty tight. I might give it a little bit more. Okay. And that'll do it for me. Maybe just a fraction more. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and just tighten the bottom nut by hand. Doesn't need to be too crash. You can get a spanner onto it, but it should be fine. Then tighten the bottom bolts again. To hold the motor in place. Now if you're wanting to get a new belt, the amount of grooves in here are the amount of PKs. So say if there's 7 grooves, 7 PK belt, and then the length is always in millimeters in a circle. So just measure the length and type that up in Google and see what you can come up with. Might save you a few dollars. The noise that my treadmill was making was like a humming noise. It was due to this vinyl smooth surface lifting up off the board, making it rub up against the belt. Now what we want to do is re-glue this down and use something heavy or clamp it down so it can glue back on. Now the belt shouldn't rub up against the lip pulling this up. It only rubs up because it's raised. When the only part that it rubs up is this surface here every time you step on it, as you can see from the worn out marks. So go ahead and we put a towel over it so we don't scratch the surface. Heavy object, corner to corner. I'll put one more clamp in the middle to hold it down, and that should do it. Give it, the glue says 8 hours, but I'd give it a good 24 hours. Then put your treadmill back together. Should be. So when you go to lubricate your belt before you jump back on it, you want to make sure the belt's loose. Feed a towel underneath it, or if you've just fixed your board, like I have, the board should be clean already. but feed a towel underneath it and rub it back and forth, clean it from all the dust. Roll it over, do the same. Get all the dust out of it. And then about 3/4 up from the bottom, around here, you want to get your lubricant and feed it under. Just feel a wiggly line of the small lubricant on here. Get some treadmill lubricant. It shouldn't be too expensive off eBay. Different treadmills say that, well, different treadmill setups use different lubricants. I'll get the recommended lubricant for your treadmill. How do you line up your treadmill belt? There's 2 bolts on the end here that you can tighten or loosen. If you have your treadmill on and the belt starts sliding to one direction, tighten that side up just a fraction until it starts slipping the other way, till it lines up. If the other side, tighten it slowly. Don't try and tighten it with the treadmill running. You will be able to do it a lot more quicker, but in the slight chance of you getting your finger stuck in here, it could do some damage. Well, it will do damage. So don't do that. So adjust it, turn it on, turn it off, adjust it, and so on and so forth till you get it right. Don't put too much tension on the belt. How do you know how much tension is good? Have a loose tension, but at the same time, if you're running on the treadmill, you can feel it slipping back here, tighten it up. And too much tension is when you've got the socket on here and you're forcing the nut down. When you get to a forcing, that's way too much tension. Realistically, you want to have it roughly in the middle of the bolt. Unless you get a new belt and the belt slightly bigger, you might need to adjust it there. Too much tension will also cause the belt ends to probably peel up ways. That's another indication of too much tension. Anyways, so I'll let the treadmill run for a sec. Hopefully the belt won't slip left to right. As you can see here, it's got an extra mil on that side to this side. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and tighten that one just a fraction. Like I said, kill the treadmill, wait till it comes to a stop. Now, just a fraction of tightening, and that should do it. You might need to turn it a lot more, half a turn to a turn, depending on how much it's leaning towards one side. And as I can see, that's nearly 100% straight, and it's good to go. It's very easy to disassemble one of these units. There's just a few screws around the corners. All different units have different setups. And this is the bottom casing. I'm done with 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I had to lift the back end, pull this cover off. Anyways, out of the way, take a few screws off around here, this comes off. It gives you access to the belt and the tensioner here that I'll get into later. If you want to remove the belt, for instance, it's easiest to remove the the front roller and the back roller. You can take these couplers off and you undo the 2 screws at the back. And that will release all the tension on the belt, enabling you to remove the rear roller like that. Now these 2 side plastic covers, these slide all the way back and then you can remove them. So you need space for that. This board here in the belt's held in place by a few bolts. Now, if you want to remove the belt, you undo it, the whole board and the brackets all in one, and take it all out, slide the belt out. If you want to do it slightly more quicker, you can slide the belt to the side and remove the bolts holding the board in place. Then, when you've done that, you should be able to slide the board out without even taking the belt off, allowing you to fix the board.